This panel on communications and perceptions really addresses one of the fundamental differences between this and all other conferences. It is not only a conference which is attracting more world leaders than any other world conference. It is a conference in which the people of the world are fully and totally involved. And I am delighted that we have as the chairman of this panel the person who more than any other on this planet has changed the nature of communications, made it possible for great events like this to be fully participatory events. And if it is true, and it is true, that more media are at this conference than have ever been at any other conference, I think greatest single thanks goes to Ted Turner. Let me tell you a little personal side. You all know Ted Turner, but from my point of view, I really have the greatest reason for gratitude in introducing him today, because early on, when nobody had heard about UNCED and nobody had heard about the Earth Summit, Ted Turner committed himself. He saw its possibilities. Not only saw them, he committed his networks, and he was out front in bringing the messages of UNCED and on Earth Summit to the rest of the world. And fortunately, the rest of the world has caught up, and that's a good. Now, it was said of CNN in the Gulf War that they changed the nature of participatory warfare. It's true of this conference that CNN has been in the lead through Ted's vision in changing the nature of world conferences. No world conference will ever be the same after this, Ted, because thanks to your initiative, this conference is a conference of people. They're getting the signals, they're responding to those signals every day. They are with us at this conference, and that's what gives me confidence that when the world leaders gather for the final decisions next week, their positions are going to be changed because the rest of the people are connected. And no one has helped to do that. Let me just add one more word. Ted Turner has been out front in so many of these issues. When it was unpopular, I remember, Ted, when on your network you were carrying material on nuclear war, on East-West reconciliation, when that cost you advertising, cost you a lot of caustic comments. Ted has helped to shape a better world, to make that better world, and I'm delighted, Ted, that you are going to chair this panel. And I won't introduce each of the other distinguished panel members, that's your job, but through you, I want to welcome and thank them as well. And this, you didn't come here to listen to me, but I couldn't help take a few minutes, Ted, just to tell you in front of this audience how much I appreciate all you have done for this conference and for our world community.
Thank you, Maurice. Appreciate that. Thank you, Maurice, and thanks everybody for attending this panel on the environment and the media. We have 4 panelists. I'm fourth. We're going to go in alphabetical order. We will make each approximately 8-minute opening statement. We'll then have a very brief discussion amongst ourselves. If there are any points that we'd like to argue about or make based upon what the other panelists say, and then we'll throw it open to questioning. The next member of the panel is Mr. Pedro Simoncini. He's an Argentinian lawyer. He started private television in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1961 and has been active in broadcasting, advertising, and related activities ever since. In 1973, the Argentinian government expropriated all private stations in Buenos Aires. The present government of Dr. Carlos Menem has turned them back to private hands, and Mr. Simoncini is now chairman of Channel 11, renamed Telefe, which has become the #1 network in Argentina. He comes to UNICED as delegate of the International Council of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, with an important message of commitment of the international broadcasters to further the understanding of environmental problems and solutions. Pedro.
Thank you, Ted. The International Council of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences is composed by the highest level of officers of public and private television organizations of the world. It's a non-profit organization for the enhancement of television industry the world over, the search of excellence in programming, the cooperation for the international dissemination of issues and projects of global importance. Promoted and fueled by this meeting of the Earth Summit, the International Council has approved the following television resolution we are announcing today as the first global commitment of the international television with the solution of environmental problems. Mass communications is the key to informing the general population on global issues. Indeed, television has a unique opportunity to deal with the international scale of issues concerning the environment. We, the members of the Board of Directors of the International Council of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, USA, share an interest in raising awareness of those issues requiring action to better our Earth's future. We dedicate ourselves and the available resources of our industry to develop a television strategic response to further the goals of Agenda 21. We shall work in cooperation with the United Nations to disseminate the importance and relevance of the United Nations resolutions and those activities designed to implement Agenda 21. Our goals are: 1, to further awareness and understanding of environmental issues through global television programming. 2, to assist in the greater dissemination around the world of environmental programs. 3, to develop procedures to facilitate funding and co-production of environmental programs. We therefore have agreed: 1, to encourage the dedication of significantly increased airtime to the environment during the ensuing broadcast years, including public service announcements, drama, documentaries, and news and public affairs coverage. 2, to develop the precedents set by the European and Japanese public service broadcasting partners in the One World initiative in making program output available for free or at cost to broadcasters in low-income developing nations and Central and Eastern European broadcasters via the United Nations sponsored International Television Trust for the Environment and other relevant distribution outlets. 3, to commit to an inter-union, intermedia organization meeting to facilitate these activities, goals, and resolutions. A report on these activities will be made to the Board of Directors of the International Council of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences by the Environmental Committee. 4, to an agenda for future collaboration which should include: A, the creation of training programs, internship funds, and/or other collaborative procedures between broadcasters in developing nations and their colleagues in developed countries. B, the encouragement of programs in all genres to deal with environmental themes and to do so in an accurate and sensitive manner. C, the creation of an annual event that recognizes achievements in meeting these programming objectives, possibly under continued United Nations auspices. This is the end. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm just absolutely delighted, excited, and optimistic that this conference is being held. The very fact that it's being held is recognition that the whole world agrees that we have a very serious series of problems here. There's some disagreements over which ones are the most important, and in different parts of the world the problems are different, but generally we're in agreement. And also we're in agreement that the problems can only be solved together. that these are transnational problems that can only be solved together. And really, this is really probably the first time in the history of the world on something of such a massive scale. I know many years ago, or not too many years ago, a group like this banned whaling. And that actually the banning of whaling occurred before the end of the Cold War. Those of us that were working on trying to end the Cold War by bringing the United States and the former Soviet Union together, I know I enjoyed saying, well, if we can stop killing the whales, maybe we can stop killing each other. And basically, even though there are a number of civil wars going on in the world, that at the current time there are no transborder wars going on at the current time. We're closer to peace than we've ever been, and really, until the Cold War ended, we couldn't really move to the environment, because when nations are at war, that consumes all their resources, all their thought, and all their energies, and they can't deal with other problems. So we couldn't have had this conference, and it couldn't have been as successful as it is today, had it not been for the end of the Cold War. And the very fact that we were successful in doing that means that we can be successful in this. My father had an old saying. He said, what the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind of man can achieve. And really, there is no reason on earth why at some point in the future every person should not have available to them decent housing, adequate food, energy, education, and rights. There is absolutely no reason, after having gone to the moon and done all the other incredible things, satellite television, and all the other things that we've done, that we can't solve these problems. Now, it's going to take, how do we do it? We do it together. And that's what this panel is about, is where the media fits in. I mean, governments can't do it alone. No one individual can do it by themselves. We all got to do it together. And the media's role is extremely important, because the media is how people get their news and information and entertainment in most cases. And it encompasses all forms of the media, and even in villages that are very remote, just passing on by word of mouth. So the media is desperately important, and all we got to do is stick with it. We got to keep letting people know what the problems are and what the solutions are. And we have all the solutions. I mean, I've read over, well, I study this issue, or these issues, a lot, and I've read just about everything that's been written on the subject, and the materials that have come out at this conference, the briefing books and so forth, list all the problems, and they list the solutions as well. And before this meeting is over, there are going to be a lot of treaties signed in a lot of these areas. We're not going to get everything that we want here, but it would really be a shame, I think, if we solved all these problems here and now, right today, because what would we do for the rest of our lives? I mean, it would be dull and uninteresting if we solved all the human problems and environmental problems. If we went away from here and starting day after tomorrow, every kid had adequate food, health care, and education. In fact, if there hadn't been a Cold War, which in today's dollars, between the U.S. and the Soviet Union and their prospective allies, it's estimated about $8 trillion was wasted on armaments during the last 40 years. And the figures I've seen, that a third of that money that went into the arms race, had it been used during the last 40 years to improve the human condition, everybody would have all the things that they need right now. So we just squandered the money. We, like a reckless gambler, we took our life savings and went down to Las Vegas and gambled it away in one night. But now it's over. The war's over. The two superpowers are pretty much in financial ruin. The Soviet Union is already economically collapsed, and the United States is carrying a $4 trillion debt. That's 40 times as much as the debt of Brazil. The United States is the brokest nation on earth. And Japan and Germany can come in here and throw a lot of money around because they got it. You know, it's because they didn't get in the arms race. They're smart. That's right. That's exactly right. And so when our president is a little tight with the purse strings, he's operating the brokest country on earth. But still, the United States should make its fair share contribution, because we can cut back now on the military, because we don't need nearly the force that we did in the past, because we don't have any big enemies. And heck, we may have a world very soon where we don't have any enemies except our next door neighbors and in a few parts of the world. And it seems to be contagious around the Middle East. You know, even all the stuff up in Yugoslavia is only a few hundred miles from there. It just seems to rub off over there. But that's the last place. That's the last place where there's any serious conflict going on. And at least they are meeting and having discussions. And I think the media has had an important role in that, as it is in this. I mean, I think it's very clear now that the environment and the environment, I think there are many things that impact the destruction of the environment, and I know that it's controversial. Of course, there are three things. One is the high consumption rate in the West. I'll start with my part of the world. And the low status of women in a lot of the world is another significant factor. In almost every country where women have equality, true equality in every way, equality, education, equality of opportunity to go into business, the environment and population pressures have, to a large degree, have abated. But the role of women everywhere is not equal, and that's certainly something that should be given heavy stress. And if that is done, that will, to a large degree, take care of everybody likes to call it the demographic problem around here, but it's also, in my opinion, that we're just producing people faster than the world can support them. But final statement on the media. The media just needs to keep this on the agenda, and I know with CNN, our news media, we run environmental stories virtually every day because we think it's extremely important, and we try and get these stories from all over the world. And we just don't use our own correspondents, but we use our network through the CNN World Report, where we have 140 different nations, the indigenous broadcasters to those countries sending us material, and we rebroadcast that as well.